back to work. Well, I've been meaning to make this video for a couple of weeks now, maybe a month, and maybe a little bit more than that. So when I first started looking into tiny living, one of the things that people consistently complained about was moisture in the air, and it created mold, rot, and just a whole bunch of nasty stuff that you do not want to deal with inside your home. I heard it all. I did, but it went in one ear and out the other, because in my mind I knew that whether I was going to do a container home, a stick build, or an RV, I was going to be in the desert. The desert is dry. What moisture is there to condense? None, right? That was my mindset, and I swore I was right, and I was for a while. But it turns out that there are some lifestyle choices you can make that will create condensation problems inside your RV. And nobody else at the campground seemed to be having my issues. But when I went on Instagram, a lot of other people who were new to RVing and who had smaller rigs like me, or even smaller than me, were having the same condensation problems I had. And the irony is we were all in the desert. We were all in California, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, all with condensation problems. So if you are also having RV condensation problems, or you would like to prevent the possibility of creating RV condensation problems, I'm going to talk about what caused mine and how I fixed it. So before we get into all of that, let me complain a little first. I had water just dripping off the windows in here. 10 a.m. And if you look, you can literally see how much condensation is just on the window. And this window is the same. Just a lot of condensation. It was fascinating at first. Even the cat thought it was interesting. But I slept in a puddle of water for 3 nights because I couldn't figure out how to dry it. I even considered just sleeping on the couch, but I'm tall, so no. So I'm hoping that I do not have any more condensation behind the bed, but it does, nope, it's wet. It's definitely wet. Oh my God. Like, how do you even solve that problem? Look at that. Can you see how wet my hands are? I just slept in my down bed and tried to figure out how to solve the issue, which thankfully I eventually did. But first, I had to strip the bed, dry up all that water that was underneath my bed and on that wall. That's the front cap for the RV, and then flip the bedding so it could dry. When I started Googling it, it turned out that doing laundry inside my RV was problem number 1. So I didn't have a condensation problem during the daytime. The problem was at night. The RV is completely shut up, all the windows are closed, and I have wet clothes in here. So the moisture has to collect somewhere when it leaves the clothes. There's nowhere for it to go. And well, apparently it chose to go be in my bed. So what I started doing is I stopped doing my pre-bed load. So that was a routine I had that I enjoyed, where right before I go to bed, about half an hour before, I do a last load of laundry and hang that up inside the RV and then go to sleep. Now, if I want my clothes to dry overnight like that, I'll do it in the evening, and honestly I usually end up having dry clothes before I go to bed, because it doesn't take that long to dry because I'm in the desert. So that's what I do now. The other issue I was having was my very heavy use of propane. I don't have a very high tolerance for cold weather. So I run my furnace to stay warm. Well, my furnace is powered by propane. I don't really understand the science behind this, but apparently propane generates moisture in the air. And if you're running the propane so that you have 80-degree weather inside the RV, when it's 40 degrees outside, that temperature difference is going to cause moisture to collect on the inside as well. So all of that was working against me. How I solved that problem, I now try to finish up my work by a certain time, because once I stop working, I turn the heat off. Despite having a very low tolerance for cold weather, I don't actually run the heat when I'm sleeping. The next thing is I stopped using propane for heat, period. I haven't turned my furnace on in a really, really long time. I started using electric heaters instead, like your little space heaters. Yeah, apparently space heaters create dry heat. So unlike my propane powered furnace, not only do they not generate moisture, but they also help to get rid of the moisture that is already in the air, and that makes a huge difference. I would say that that is single-handedly the most important step I took to finally cure my poor RV of the condensation issues I was having. The next thing I did was I got a dehumidifier. Honestly, I've only had to use it 2 or 3 times, but I'm gonna hang on to that. That's 2 or 3 times considering I'm still in the desert. So my condensation problems that I had would have been way worse if I had been somewhere where the air was naturally more humid. And that's exactly where I'm going to be for the summer. In the summer, I'm going to be up in Wyoming, where there's obviously rain. Are you on crack? Come here. Come here. You are on crack, aren't you? You almost knocked the camera over. What's going on with you, bud? Are you having the zoomies? Can you hurry up and get it out of your system before bedtime? I would really appreciate it. Okay, alright. Don't whack me in the face with your tail. Are you getting off or no? Why did I invite you up here? This is what I have to deal with on a regular basis. But if you've made it this far in my video, you might as well subscribe. I'm just saying. So that's it for this week. My cat is waiting right here to terrorize me. So I will see you guys next Friday if I survive fighting with the Black Panther. Bye.